Hello, welcome back to Cypress Automation. This is Shoreful. This is the continuation of page object pattern design implementation in Cypress. So if you haven't seen the previous two lectures related with the page object model in Cypress, please watch those video first and then move to or come to this video. Otherwise you will not understand. This is the, you can say that's a part of this whole page object model design implementation in Cypress. So in our last video we've seen how to create a separate class for practice page and do some test cases, do some scenarios over here, and create a test script spec file, and then call all the related methods those are belongs to the test cases up there. So here one of the scenario was do a dynamic drop down test cases, like type over here can and then select the Canada. So let's here is the, let's go back to our VS Code. Here it's just a little bit it's a change, it's just a locator. If you see the last or previous video, you will see this locator, it's a little bit different. So I just update the locator here. It's the locator, it's pretty much same, just this div was missing. So and then rest of the logic is same, and then run it, you will able to find it like it also shows the Canada was selected, like it was clicked. Okay, in the last video some reason the click action was not performed, and I feel like I found this the locator was not able to use the locator. It was using, but some reason it didn't show even error. But anyway, so I update the locator over here, but the logic, everything is same. Okay, so I hope you can find out the difference. So let's move to our next page, which is so in the registration page. Over there, here we'll fill up the form and do the submission. And so let's create a separate class for registration, right? So let's give a name, registration. So I will create a so this is the from our last class. So this is the page practice class, all the methods over here, and this is our test spec file, right? So let's create another one, another inside this page object folder, right? So page object folder is over here. So create another new file and give a name registration page. I would say registration page. So it's the same class we're going to use, same name we're going to use as our class, and this use the page word at the end, so it's gonna be easier to understand. Okay, this class belongs to registration page, right? And then give a JS extension. Okay, so here we're going to do the same thing. So we'll say class, right? Keyword to create the class, and then so we create a class to just copy this IntelliJ code at the beginning, so that it can automatically suggest all of the Cypress command, default command. Okay, so let's create the first is, what's the field? It's a first name, last name, email address. So those would be 3, and then we'll just cover all the mandatory field, and then select one of the drop down option and select the Facebook and submit the button, right? Registration. So first name, last name, email, right? So let's create a method static. So I would say get first name, and here I'm going to pass a parameter, since it's a first name. So every time when you do the test, run the script, your name could be different. You could pass the different name. You could pass email address, especially the email address should be unique. So one email address you can use just for one time test when you run. So you need to change your testing data, like name or email address should be unique, especially email address. So we can't do the hard code, the name and email address, other than pass the parameter over here, and when we'll call this function in our test cases, over here, we'll pass actual data. So up there we can easily we can change the name or name value, or we can pass the argument like a different email address, right? So give a name. So I'm passing over here parameter first name. So this is my parameter, and then what would be sci.get, what would be the locator. So locator would be first name, right? So as you know, you can easily inspect it. So that's the locator I can easily use. Let's see if there is an ID. I see this, there is an ID, so I can easily use the ID. Okay, so ID should be unique. You can test in your crop path. So it's ID, so hash, so you can see it's match one element and selected this, so this is good. So ID would be this, right? So sci.get, and then what do you want to do? You wanna type, right? So I wanna type the first name. So what will be the first name? So instead of typing over here, the parameter, whatever the parameter, it should be the same parameter over here. So when I will call this method, I will pass actual value as an argument instead of this parameter, right? So it will be replaced over here, the actual name. Okay, and then what I can do, type this, and here, since you are typing something in a field, right? So say something, you type something, so it may take a little bit time, to update your name over here, or to show is there. So let's put some delay. So in a type command, when you type something, you can pass also, there's a delay inside up there, other than individually there's some implicitly wait you can put with your type command, right? So how you can do this? You can do this like this. So you will say inside this parenthesis bracket, you will say delay, say, I would say let's delay 30 seconds, 3 seconds, right? 30, and then put some delay, right? And then what should be, so whatever you pass the name, it should be displayed. So it should have a value, the same value, right? So whenever I type something, say Sam, the Sam should be here, the same value, this string, right? This name should be over here, should display. So to validate that, how you gonna confirm the Sam is there? Either you can confirm that this it's the text is Sam and it's displaying, or you can say the value of the text over here, the value is here, it's a Sam. Okay, so that's how we can validate it. So we can pass some assertion. We can say should have value, should have value. What would be the value? The same name, right? The same name. What is the same name? Same name is first name. So it both should be same, right? So the value should be the name. What's name? The name we're going to pass. It's over here. Whatever the name we're going to type, it should also shows the value is the same name, right? So that's the way you can do some assertion. Okay, the same way we'll do for the last name. Type over here. So just change the method name, get last name, and then give a over here, change last name, and pass the same last name over here, give the same delay, and should have the last name, right? And let's make sure that we change the attribute. So what's the attribute for the last name? Come over here and then put something unique. It looks like there's an ID. Let's put the ID there, right? So it should change over here, ID. Okay, looks good, right? And then email address, right? So same thing we can do, right? Another method, give a name, get email, get email, and then pass a parameter, give a name email, right? Pass this email, whatever the same email should be, we'll type over here, and the value would be the same, right? Email, and make sure we update the locator. So what's the field locator of the email? Okay, this is the one, name email. What can we use? So we can use, let's see, we can use, there's a tag is input, and there's a type equals to email. So we can use something like this. Let's try it. So input, what's the tag name? Input, and then what's the attribute name? It's type equals to, and then what's the value of the type? Is email, right? Let's see. Okay, it's a one element match, and you can say it's select the email box. So looks like this is a unique, so we can use this one, right, for email. Okay, type email, delete the same time, and should have value email, right? So that's the email, and then after that we're going to select what's called drop down. Okay, we'll say select, I think let's give it a checkbox, right? So we'll select Selenium automation. So let's use the what's ID, maybe we can use the ID, right? We can use ID. So checkbox, I get okay. We can use, I think we can use ID, this ID. Just double check, make sure it's a unique. Okay, it's a unique, right? So we can use this one. So let's let's make a copy, make another method, give a name, probably we can say select drop down option, select drop down, select drop down. In this case we're not going to pass any parameter, so leave it empty. So what was the element? So we're going to use this. We'll say okay, get this, and then we'll say select. So we'll call the select command. So since this is a static drop down, right? So select, and then we'll say select what we want to select. What do we want to select? We want to select Selenium, right? We're going to Selenium automation, right? So let's see, where is the Selenium automation? Selenium automation, right? Selenium automation we want to select, and it has a, you can see the value option, there's a value parameter, it has a value also. Selenium automation, there's a hyphen, so we can do some assertion with using the value parameter. So we want to select, first we want to select Selenium, so we said is select Selenium automation. So that's the we want to select, it will be select using the select command, and after that we want to pass some assertion. So what assertion we can say? We can say should have value, should have dot value. So what should be the value? So value should be, let me copy again from there. So make sure you copy from there. So value, there is an option, so there's a value parameter, so we can use the value parameter. So this is the value of value parameter, so it should be like this. So copy exactly from there, otherwise it will not match and your test case will fail, right? And then so let's, this is the one, and after that we'll create another method. We'll give a name, say select checkbox for the next one, right? Select checkbox, select checkbox, right? And then here, what's the checkbox? We're going to select the Facebook option. So let's select the Facebook, find the element, right? So find the element. What we can do, there is a, let's see, this should work over here, and also you can see this is also, or this, select the whole thing. This is also select the Facebook. Here we have an ID, so we can use ID. Here it has an ID 2. Here it has an ID 2, right? So so let's use this one, right? Let's use this one. Let's use this one so that we can use, because we can use over here there is a value parameter, so we can use the assertion for assertion we can use this value parameter with the Facebook, right? So let's use this ID field. Okay, let me just verify one more time to make sure it's select the location exactly we are looking for. Okay, it's saying one element match but didn't highlight this. Where is the element? And field, right, and fill. Okay, okay. Oh, looks like this is the label. Okay, okay, let me still use this one. Okay, let's try this because it has a value. What I'm looking for, it has a value parameter, so we can use the value parameter, and this is for which Facebook. But here it has a tag label, but there's nothing. There's an ID, but it doesn't have the value parameter. It has a Facebook text, but it doesn't have the value parameter. So I believe that we can still use this. Let's try it. Okay, let's try to use this. Let's see what happens. 23. So we'll say here select checkbox, so copy this, then we'll click, right? So let's update over here. Let's remove here. We'll say we're going to click, right? So select click function, click function, and the thing is, let's see what happened. Click function, so it should click, and then we'll say should have value. What should have value? It should have value to Facebook, right? Where is the Facebook? This is the value, is Facebook, right? So we can put here Facebook. Okay, so that should select the checkbox Facebook, and then finally we should have a submission. For submission here, just let's this. Okay, it has a, we can find class. I think this class maybe it's used with other also, so either we can use this ID. Since we use already ID, so let's use a little bit different. We can use input, and then let's type is button, right? So let's do this one. So we'll say input, and then what's the attribute type equals to button, right? There is a button. Let's see. Yeah, it's define one element, and which is the register button, right? So let me copy this. Let's create over here static. So we'll say submit form, just give a meaningful name, and then go there and we'll say sci.get here. This is the locator for this button, and then we'll say click. You can use click, and then after you click, let's see what happened. So if we just give some name, say Sam, and then be whatever it is, right? Give a name, some, say test @test, and then you select, see this what happened, and then select Facebook, and after that you click on register. You see it takes a little bit time. It's saying processing, right? So to submit the form, and then it comes this page. So since it takes a little bit time to process, so we can put some wait time over here. We can say wait, let's put some so maybe it's 4 seconds or 5 seconds. Let's put 4 seconds. If it doesn't work, then we'll increase that time, right? And then so now what comes after that, we have to validate this, like this message. So let's locate this message. So this is the text to locate this message. So maybe the class, okay, there is a class, this one, yep, it's locate that one, so we can use this class. And since we have to use that, so how are we gonna do this assertion? We have to make sure it shows this message. So we'll locate this element and we'll invoke the text message in the text method. As you know, we can't use direct text method in Cypress, so we have to invoke the text method and puts in a variable, and then from that variable we can confirm that on that variable the text, whatever is the text have this message, right? So thank you for registering. So we'll say this thank you is include on this message, right? So let's do this. So we'll say over here, so sci.get the locator of this message, this it was class this, and then we'll invoke what? We'll invoke the text message, text method, and then we'll use .then function, right? We'll use then function. Inside the then function we'll pass a variable. So this variable will hold the text from this element, which is the whole message, like thank you registration, right? So and then arrow method, and twist that, pass the an arrow method. Let's missing this, isn't it? So I think I miss, okay, then text one, I think I miss one here, okay, right? So this is, so here what are you going to do? I'm saying expect, I will use some assertion. So expect this text variable, it means the text of the from this element, it should include, or you can say it's to equal, then you have to put exactly the same message, or you can use to include. So whatever you want, I'm going to use include, right? In this case, include one, it should include just partial of the your text, like thank you. Maybe I'll just put the thank you, okay? So it should have a include whole text. This text variable, whatever the text it's holding, it should have at least this thank you, right? So I don't have to compare the whole text. If it's the text is message is too long, right? So that should be good, right? And then save it. Now go back to our test case the test case spec file, which is code in box test. Now here I'm going to make another it block something for the another. So this is the new test cases for other page. So I will say registration page, test cases, right? So here I will update all the did I export? I didn't export, right? So make sure that you export at the end, other than it's not going to work, right? So you have to export first to work any method, to call any method from a different class, right? So how to do this? We'll say export keyword, export, and then default, right? And then your class name. What's the class name? Registration page, default registration page. Save it. So now use this, and then we have to import it also, right? Okay, comma, close, then go to the over here, import first. Same thing you will do, right? Import, then this class from where? From dot, so one dot, then page object, right? From the inside the page object folder, what's the class name? Class name registration page, right? So now your all the method would be available to import over here, to call over here from this registration page, right? From this class. So how to do this? All you have to do the same thing we did over here. So registration page dot first is, what's the first method we create? First name, right? First name, last name. Make sure you have to pass the value when you call, because this is the parameter, so we have to pass the actual value. So get first name, last name, email. Okay, so dot get, you can see get, it should show available. Get first name, you see it shows, it's showing already first name. So you pass the value, maybe I would say Sam, and then for the next one, last name, get last name, whatever the value. So I would say Jackson, and then registration, and then what's the next is email. It should have get email, right? Get email, right? And it should have a, so maybe I would say Sam dot Sam. Okay, just put some dummy email, test.com. let's see. And after that, again, what's the next method? Let's go here. So get email, then select drop down and select check, select drop down, and there is no, I believe there is no parameter or no parameter, so then is select checkbox, right? The next is dot select checkbox. It doesn't have a parameter too. And the last one would be, what's the last one? Last one is submission form, right? Submit form. So submit form is the last one. Dot su, you can see submit form. Okay, so pretty much that's all, right? So save it. Now run our test cases again, right? Let's make it new. So npm run sci open. It will open our test runner. So it's open the test runner. So here is the two class, right? Page object. So practice page, registration page.js, and here is our test cases, which is name is code in box test, right? Code in box test JS file. Click on there. So now it will, okay, looks like we got some error. Okay, occur while compiling. Okay, missing file or dependency, syntax error. Looks like dependency somewhere we got some error. Okay, practice page can resolve. Okay, don't be panic when you get any error, just read it. Okay, file, okay, does not contain a valid alias configuration. Which one? Okay, let me double check. So I didn't save the file. Looks like just make sure you saved all the files. So it's better to click on save all files, and make sure there is nothing, there is no other extra code up there. So it should be good now. Let's open now. Let's try code in box. This is our spec file. So let's run it. Okay, you can see this is our first test case, practice page test case. Loading the page using the before hook method. Here we go. All the looks like steps, scenarios is pass, and then it's moved to the registration page. So it's you can say, you see, it's added the first name, last name, email address. Okay, here we go. We got some issue. We got a fail. So what was the fail? Fail was, okay, Selenium, it looks good. It selected the Selenium, and then it's expert found the Selenium, that's good. And then I think this is related to the select the Facebook, because it didn't select the Facebook, you can see. And so it's retry. Okay, failed because the element is not visible. Oh, so what's it saying? So we use this locator. This is the locator for our Facebook, and you can see, read the log. It's saying timeout reaching because this click method on this element failed because this element is not visible, because this some reason this element is not visible. I mean, element is fine, but it's not visible. This using this locator is not visible. So what we can do to make any element to visible, we can force, right? So here let's go to our registration. So where is the registration? Let's go to the registration page, and then you see this is the easy thing. Like, this is the benefit of page object pattern. So because like we found issue any specific element, you just come to up there in a related function and change up there, other than go to the all the places we use this method in our test cases. We don't have to go up there. So just change, come to the specific page, and then a specific method update there. So here, so it's saying select checkbox, right? This is the method. It's saying this element, it's hidden. So if any element is hidden, Cypress, this click method, this function is not able to perform the click action on this element because this element is hidden. Since it's saying hidden, we can make it by force is true. It means we can make it visible. To do this, we can pass this command force true. Force is true, right? So now this element will be visible by force, and then the click method will be performed on this element. Okay, let's save it, and then let's try it again. Okay, practice page test cases using before hook. Looks like before hook takes a little bit time to execute. Okay, looks pretty much all the test cases pass, all the tests yes. Move to the registration page, looks good. Again it's failed, where it's failed checkbox, same checkbox, no command were issued in this. True is not defined. Why is true is not defined? Okay, let me double check again. What is the thing? So we pass here on a click, we say false, true, right? Up there. So see what I get. Why true is not defined? Didn't we save it? We save it. Actually save it once again. Let's run it again. Code and box test. Okay, looks good to me. Okay, here we go. This time it's worked. So sometimes it didn't recognize somehow. I have to just make sure I resaved again the file, and also this test case is passed, right? So it means let's talk in our second test. It's a registration page, so everything looks like first name. You say it's delayed, and then second name, and then email, right? And then you see the email address, then assertion is pass, right? And then select the Selenium automation 1, and then this is the Facebook. It's by force, by force we click on this element, since this element was hidden, and it's and also we have the value Facebook, so we the assertion was pass, and then click on register button, right? And then we put some wait so that it takes some time to process it, and then we look at the thank you message or element, and then we expect that it has to include in this message, it has to include thank you, right? So pretty much that's all. So that's the full class, you can say, page object pattern implementation in real life. So that's the way. If you follow this, the whole things, so I start from the first class of the page object, and then go to the second one, and come to now then it's the second third class, so that you have the flow understanding how I started from the beginning to end. Okay, so we'll have just one more class for regarding the page object model, that where we're going to run our report, the Cypress Mocha Awesome report, and then we'll see that's how to run that report, and also the update of this. Okay, so update the result of this same test cases. So thank you so much, stay tuned, wait for the next video. Have a good one.